Hi guys, today I'm at Klinik Pergigian Dr. K in Putrajaya. What we are going to learn today is all about digital workflow to construct a denture.
So basically what we do is instead of sending the case out to a lab, doing all the manual work, what we can do is we just take the scan of the arch in the patient, either with the intraoral scanner, or if you don't have an intraoral scanner, you can just take an impression normally, conventionally, pour them into a cast, then you can actually scan them. So once you scan, then you can output the file, which we can manipulate in the software to design the denture. I would say the main benefit is you can do it really fast. Yeah, so and it reduces your cost as well because the material is not cheap, but you don't use so much, and the overall cost is far less than what you are paying for lab fees.
The first step of constructing a denture will be coming from taking the impression. So what is the difference between a digital workflow as well as a analog workflow?
So if you are using desktop scanner, the workflow is somewhat similar to the conventional part, especially during the scanning, the impression taking. But if you have intraoral scanner, that makes it a bit easier and faster because you don't need to take impression, you don't need to pour the model, and then you have to scan it again. All right. So for most clinic, usually iOS is actually better instead of a lab scanner. Right?
Can you show us the process of getting the desktop scanner to run?
Sure, sure. So we preset the what we want to scan, then just put order into the scanner, then we start to scan.
How long usually does this process take?
Usually it will take a few seconds, up to a minute for a model.
Oh, okay. Got it already.
That's actually a pre-scan. So what we
Pre-scan.
do is we just show them which site that we want to actually scan. So we just select the area. It will be different for every scanner. So it depends on the model and the brand of your scanner. So we want to scan the whole arch, including all these extensions.
The next step will be designing, right?
Next step will be design. So what we do is once we got the file scanned, we insert basically we upload the STL file into the software. So once you got into the software, then that's where your design starts. It's quite a bit of steps. There's quite a few steps that you need to know. It's not difficult. It's quite simple, which most of them can actually be delegated to staffs. So what we dentists actually need to do is just the designing, the placement of the teeth, and approving our staff's work. So that's what we are going to teach. Generally, what we want the dentist to know all the steps, and afterwards they can actually delegate them to the staffs.
In order to set the teeth at the position that they should be, usually we need to do a maxillomandibular relationship. We have to record that, and also in order to get nice border of the denture, we have to do border molding. Then how different is this digital workflow?
So if you have a desktop scanner, you will still need to take an impression. So you take an impression conventionally, you use alginate initially as a primary impression. Supposedly you were supposed to do a secondary impression. You can actually design a 3D printed special tray, and you don't need to use those light cured acrylic to do your the special tray anymore. It's a lot cheaper really. So 3D printed special tray is cheaper than using the resin, and honestly it's just a lot easier. Alright, so you use that, do border molding, take another impression, then you scan.
It means we pour the cast again.
Yeah, so pour the cast again. So those are the steps with lab scanner. If you have an intraoral scanner, one concern is you might not be able to get tissue compression. That might be a concern for some people, but in our experience, it works just fine. so you can still get suction from the full denture. So in some cases, you don't even need to do post-dent. It works fine, really. So you should try them, see how and what works for you.
And in order, let's say we take an MMR manually, right? You said, then how do we transfer the bite to here?
Alright,
It's
so
just position.
with scanning, we scan both upper and lower arch. With the MMR, you either have the bite registration in wax.
Yes.
So you just position both upper and lower and you scan them together. So and then you correlate those files in the software. So that's where you get the proper bite. So because that is quite important. MMR is basically the most important part in denture making. So if you mess that up, then your denture will be off as well, right?
So once we get that information, then in order for us to set the tooth, how does it go roughly?
Right. So what we need before we start building the denture, we need the teeth library. So there are a few available libraries. So this is one that we use. It's available for free and which we will provide. So you can actually have the full arch of teeth, or you can actually select just one or two, depending on your denture requirement. Then the next step will be doing the gum work. So the whole process should take, I would say, a couple hours. So as I mentioned, it's not impossible to issue it same day. For me, it's just a lot easier for me to issue it the next day. So that is very doable, not difficult at all.
All right, Dr. Cairo, next step will be 3D printing, right?
Yes, next step will be 3D printing. Once we have the files ready, so we can actually, there's two ways to print. So either we print the gum and teeth separately, or we can print it as a monolithic denture. This is a monolithic denture. What we do is we print the whole teeth and the base together. Of course, it's white, including the gum. So we need to add the pink. So we use a pink composite. It will be bonded quite fine. All right. Okay. So the other way is we print it separately. We print the teeth first, which I don't have the sample here. Once that's done, we can actually print the base. So basically, it's almost like a Lego form. So you literally just pop, so it fits in. The fit will really depends on the accuracy of our impression. If our impression is correct, if the scanning is done correctly, it should fit fine. That should not be a worry at all, right?
So that is compared to an analog to a digital one, there is no a big demarcation.
Not really. It should be similar. So you should be able to get a proper suction from full dentures.
Dr. Cairo, how does this 3D printer works? What is the principle of it?
How 3D printer works? So generally, just there's two types of 3D printer. Well, there's more really, but for consumer level, there's FDM printer with the filament, and then this is the resin printer. So resin printer prints with liquid resin, which comes in bottles like this, right? So
for dental work, this type is more recommended.
Yes, for dental, definitely we want to use resin 3D printer because it is more precise, more accurate. FDM is not precise enough for dental work. So there's a few parts in 3D printer. Oops. Okay. This is what we call a build plate. This is the resin vat. So where we put the liquid resin in. And this is the printer itself. So how it works is, this is actually an LCD panel. This is an LCD panel that actually literally shows slices of the 3D model. So it shows images one by one, so literally hundreds of images. So and then down there there's a UV light source. So these resins are all UV sensitive. So when there's enough UV light hits them, it hardens. So similar to composite. So composite is blue light sensitive, right? So the resins are UV light sensitive. So the LCD is literally just a mask. So it masks off areas that we don't want to cure. So layers by layers, and then the model comes out. All right. So you put the vat in, you put the resin in, then you put the build plate. Then you run the printer. So printing a denture should take roughly about an hour plus to 3 hours, depending on a few things. And this is the wash and cure unit. So the purpose of this is to clean the 3D printed model. So once it comes out of the 3D printer, it comes out in slightly sticky because there are quite a lot of excess resin, which we need to clean first. So we clean it in the wash system, and then we post cure it under UV light. So because this is basically liquid resin cured under UV light. Similar to composite, they have oxygen inhibited layer. So we clear all those excess resin, and then we post cure it for it to get a proper curing setting.
Okay, Dr. Cairo, let's talk about the cost of analog denture versus digital denture.
Analog denture is, people say analog denture is not expensive, but the most costly part is time, because we can't get the result fast. So basically the only way for you to get really fast in like a day or two, you have to do it yourself. Right? The cost of the resin can appear quite expensive because the resin can cost a few thousand per bottle. So you need at least one or two.
All this treatment planning and 3D printing, we will need software, right? So what is the cost of the software? How expensive it is? Is it very difficult? Is the learning curve very high for us?
I'm not going to say that the software is easy to use, but it's not difficult once you actually know and understand how they work. So that's the point of the workshop. So we wanted to make it as easy and simple as possible. In terms of cost, there's a whole range of software. So from free to really tens of thousands of ringgit. So it really depends on what you need. So if you are just doing a few dentures a month, you can actually use free software. So there are some limitations to the free or the cheap softwares. When you go into higher volume, it might be advisable for you to purchase the better, more expensive software. Generally, they can output similar results, similar good results, and perfectly fine for clinical setting. It's just that the more expensive software is a lot easier to use. Sometimes they save a bit of time, and that's enough for us to justify the cost. Right? So if you are interested in learning how to do 3D printed denture, come to our course and we will teach you how to do it from A to Z. So you don't need to have prior experience, you just need to come and want to learn. That's all. You can contact me through WhatsApp, or you can just PM me for the workshop details.
Okay. Right, thank you so much, Dr. Cairo.
Thank you.
And maybe see you in your course.
See you.
Okay, bye-bye.